Hey everybody, this is Perch. Let's get right to this mail. It says, Dear Perch, I was re-listening to a video of yours, from 2 to 3 years ago recently, and you mentioned that you wouldn't be surprised if Marvel does a new 52 style reboot in a couple of years. Considering how listless the line has been for the last year or so, um, due to corporate absorption by Disney proper, do you think the odds of a full-on reboot have increased over the last 2 years? Um, yeah, Yeah, I think so. That's full mail. Got into it in less than 30 seconds. Perfect. I've, by the way, there's some guy in my video. Every time I put a timestamp on stuff like that, mail took 2 minutes. Somebody's like, it took 2 minutes and 20 seconds, sir. Yes, I know. I'm exaggerating. Also, I'm looking at the recording of how much time I've been talking. I'm not factoring in the fun little jingle at the beginning. So anyway, it is what it is. Uh, I do think Marvel gets there. I I don't see, Marvel does the soft, not soft reboot, but shifting timeline thing where, suddenly I think what Captain America is no longer, I think he's no longer in World War II. He was in the Afghanistan war now, is that right? I think I admit, I am behind on for about a month and a half. One, been traveling. Two, in pain, got better. Three, had this court case of doom, which truly has screwed with my head. And I sound really cheerful and chipper, but I need you all to buy me a beer. That's what I need. And just some general kind of disillusionment. I think I'll get off this topic, but I I'm disappointed that you know what? Actually, I'm not going to get into it. But I recently had somebody who I bought a beer for, and kind of stabbed me in the back a little bit. So I don't know. I'm generally cheerful, go lucky Perch. If you're in comics, especially if you're in this kind of community or whatever of comics, I'm not. You should know where I'm coming from. I'm not going to be a great enemy or asset to you. I do these videos from the car. There's this thread on Reddit that somebody pointed me to where the guy's like, you can listen to Perch, but his production values are terrible. He's literally just driving around in a car talking. And it's like, yeah, no lies detected. That is true. Um, it is what it is. But I'm not, like I said before, I'm not great at feuds. And I will always buy you a beer. If I see you in a comic shop, I will greet you warmly, shake your hand, and listen to you and everything else. And if you need a hand, I'm a sucker. I always help. If it's in my power to help, and sometimes it's not in my power to help, but I try my best. But I'm not one of these people. It's like, all right, we're gonna all get together and go at this guy on Twitter. I mean, I'm a bad ally for that because I'll get one, I'm not posting on Twitter, and two, I get bored very fast with those kinds of things. Anyway, it is it is what it is. All right, back to reboot where Marvel is concerned. They've been doing this sliding timeline. As I said, I think they've been monkeying around with some of the characters' origins and other things to make them more contemporary. Um, what is it? I think, didn't Tom Brevoort say that the Fantastic Four got their powers post 9/11 at this point? And I'm opposed to that for what it's worth. I don't think it's a big problem. Yes, it creates the awkward, well, or shouldn't these guys be like 90 by now? And yeah, technically, sure. Shouldn't they also not be flying around, lighting their bodies on fire, going into space, fighting people in the negative zone, having Thanos come and try and wipe out the planet? I mean, shouldn't those things also not happen? I mean, if we're going to hand wave away the fact that we're in a universe telling superhero stories and some kind of continual mythology, do we really need to line up a timeline? Does it matter? I don't think it matters. I think just tell the story. I think there's a handful of things, and I believe once upon a time that Jim Shooter had this kind of some rules we'll always follow or some guidelines, and they were things like, hey, we're not going to comment on the fact the characters aren't aging, in the comic. There's just certain things that don't open that door. Let's not comment on the fact that you know half of New York was probably murdered in that rampage from the Rhino. It's you could do comics where the Rhino's chasing after a bank car, an armored car, and he's clearly like throwing cars up into the air and smashing stuff. And you've got Spider-Man kind of webbing, some of them as he's trying to hunt him down and stop him. But you know, the there, every time there's any kind of supervillain encounter, there's a body count. Potentially a very big one. I mean, Doctor Octopus picks up a building and throws it at Spider-Man. Well, there's a couple of, there's 1,000 people in that building who just died, crushed to death. But you shouldn't make the comic, just go into that for like just like you don't want to spend like the next 5 comics like, and here's the list of people who are died, because it would be a bummer. You'd stop enjoying any superhero comics if you constantly harped on the fact that Manhattan. I mean, nobody should live there. I mean, at this point in comics, I mean, what are you doing? Like, you realize in the Marvel universe, the property value of places like Nebraska and back Kansas, Wyoming would be the most populated state because everybody would just move there. It's like New York would be empty. No one in their right mind would live in New York. Anyway, but how did I get from sliding timeline onto this? I don't know. Anyway, Marvel's been doing kind of these soft reboots, soft launches, sliding timeline, all this kind of stuff. But I feel, and they've been doing hey, we'll just alter this character's origin a little bit to, make it align with the MCU. To me, the most egregious example of all that was still them taking the ultimate Nick Fury and making Nick Fury's son, and then trying to get the senior Nick Fury out of the way so they could have the Samuel Jackson looking Nick Fury running around. I mean, why did they do that? I'd love to just, get an answer to, did this result in any additional sales at all? You're closer to the Marvel universe, the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Did anybody come in and be like, now I will buy the comic because we've got Black Nick Fury, like he is in the movies? I would just love, I was a retailer forever, and at no point ever did somebody come in and go, I can't buy this Blade comic because this doesn't look like Wesley Snipes. This looks like a completely different black guy. I'm not buying Blade. No, nope, nope, nope. He's got some kind of yellow and green looking trench coat. This is not the black leather thing. And where's that old white dude that gives him weapons and things? Where's that guy at? If he's not in the comic, I don't even know what I'm reading. No, it's just ridiculous. And so every single time the comics try to change themselves to look like the movies, like there's a period of time where they tried to make Mystique look like Rebecca Romijn Stamos, and it's like, nah. I mean, what are you doing? Just don't. The fans don't want that. Nobody wants that. It doesn't result in sales. None of it does. I love, by the way, sometime when you're at a convention and you're at a panel, you say, hey, Perch wanted me to ask you this. And then you will get thrown out. No, and you say, hey, Perch wanted me to ask you this. Has changing a comic character to look like the movies ever resulted in sales? Ever? In the history of comics, ever? This would be a great question for Tom Brevoort. You do it. Anyway, the writers I've talked to, by the way, always express annoyance at having to do this. They always are like, this is the worst, dumbass task ever. But yeah, I think at some point, fairly soon, Marvel does a full reboot. I think they will do it because, the events just don't catch. One World Under Doom isn't catching. It didn't catch. I think they're trying to figure out what the next one is. They're doing this X-Men event coming up with Doug Ramsey. That's not going to have the same kind of sales as Age of Apocalypse. But I think there will come a point where they'll have enough of these events that basically were stinkers from a sales perspective. And they're going to come to the realization or the belief that the only way forward is to reboot and put a lot of, like, the Marvel Universe is ending, here you go, blah, 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 blah. The challenge is they had a really good opportunity to do that with Hickman's Secret Wars. And for whatever reason, Marvel seemed absolutely convinced that the best thing they could do is kind of put almost everything back in the bottle coming out of that. Like Secret Wars came out and they just they fumbled badly. They created a more convoluted Marvel universe coming out of it, not a less one. It's a video for another time, I guess, but it was a more screwed up Marvel following Secret Wars than before. Part of Secret Wars was supposed to kind of clean up the Ultimate Universe, put a new spin on things, kind of let Hickman's work some of his magic, create a springboard for North stories. But I think we came out of that, and yeah, it was a colossal mess that emerged. But anyway, oh well. Anyway, um, so what say you? Do you think the Marvel Universe reboots? I think it does. I think in the next 2 to 3 years, I think we're going to get that moment. I think it depends. The other thing that will trigger it is if DC really starts winning, and DC has generally been doing a lot better. So they have some attention now. We'll see if they can hold it across their line. They can get things moving. But if DC really starts to take it and put some sales numbers on the board, then I think Marvel is cooked. And I think at that point, Marvel will accelerate saying, you know what, the way we're going to get movie synergy is let's just reboot the whole thing and make it look exactly like the MCU. And then we'll take it from there. And I think that's what we're in for. Anyway, let me know your thoughts. Is it coming? Is it not coming? What's your argument for it? I'll put some big clickbaity title like Marvel Universe is rebooting, says, secret source that Perch will not reveal, but was told to me by somebody who knows. Insider. Just like that. That'll be way too many words on a thumbnail, though, come to think of it. Anyway, thanks for listening.